Hey everybody. As stated in my previous review, I wanted to talk about a topic that's big in the world right now, and I don't really get too serious on this channel, but I can only go so far without stating not necessarily my opinion, but just something in general that has to be heard throughout the world. So, because of everything going on with the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, Warner Brothers, in the wake of that, decided to put this movie on demand for the world to just see how systemic racism works. So for that, I'm going to be talking about the film Just Mercy. Just Mercy is a legal drama that takes place in the 80s and 90s and is also based upon a true story. It's directed by a man named Destin Cretton, and if you guys don't know that name, don't blame you, but he's going to be on your radar soon because he's the director of the Marvel Cinematic Universe film, Shang-Chi. This movie stars Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, and Brie Larson, and I know what you guys are already thinking. It's kind of weird that I'm talking about a movie that came out last year, the end of last year, but I always wanted to see it, and I feel like this was a relevant time to check it out and to talk about it with the world. Jamie Foxx plays a character named Walter McMillan, and he was basically accused of a crime that we don't think he actually committed in the film, at least. So he's thrown in jail, he's put on death row for a while too, and in comes Michael B. Jordan's character. In the beginning of the film, we're introduced to him. He's an aspiring lawyer, he's just an intern right now. Fast forward, and he's a full-fledged lawyer, and he wants to work on death row for these inmates that he doesn't believe to be actually guilty. And I have to tell you guys, I loved Michael B. Jordan's character in this movie. He's done a lot of solid performances in his life, but this one is definitely top of my list now because he's a black male lawyer in the 80s, early 90s in Alabama, nonetheless. So there's a lot of racism going on back then. Hell, there's a lot of racism, unfortunately, in the world happening to this day, and it's overwhelming and unbelievable. You start to think to yourself, why is America still like this? Because a lot of stuff that's in this film that happened 20 or 30 years ago still happens to this day. Not as frequent, of course, but it's still obviously happening if you've been paying any attention to the news in the past few weeks. His character just makes you feel so many different emotions rushing through you because he has to tell people that, hey, your execution, we got to push back until next year. And so that's huge for people. I mean, you might still think it's bad news, but for people who know they're innocent, that's more time to fight for their lives. On the other side of this, Bryan Stevenson, the character who Michael B. Jordan plays, his mom is scared for him. She thinks he's going to get killed in this field because as a black man in the 80s trying to fight for other black men who everyone in this town thinks a lot of these guys are guilty anyways and they don't want to even think about them, you better believe that there's going to be people trying to sabotage your shit left and right. The part that really got to me is Michael B. Jordan is walking into a prison in this movie and he's a lawyer, so he should be able to go into his business, right? No. This security guard freaking strip searches him and just completely strips him of all of his rights too. Not only his clothes are stripped, but his dignity, man. And I'll be honest, you guys know me. I don't want to talk about my political views and stuff like that, but this goes way beyond that. This is just about simple human rights. A lot of people say white privilege doesn't exist, and whether you guys want to believe it or not, I mean, it's clearly evident that it does. I mean, I was one of those people who thought it didn't exist a few years back. I was just oblivious. And this movie is just one example in hundreds of thousands of actual real-life stories. Of course, this was based on a true story too, so it counts, of actual white privilege happening in the world. Fully knowing how the world is, we see Jamie Foxx just as a broken man when Michael B. Jordan meets him. He accepted his fate. He's just like, yeah, I've seen a bunch of other lawyers come in and out. You guys don't do shit. You might postpone a hearing or my death sentence, but nothing's gonna happen, man. I know I'm innocent, but the world doesn't want me to be innocent. There are good cops out there, of course, but in this movie, it really shines a light on how corrupt the government and justice system is to where anyone can be paid off. And I think it's definitely relevant right now. Brie Larson, she teams up with Michael B. Jordan's character to fight for justice, and she's also putting her life on the line. She gets threats from people in her community saying, I don't know why you're working with that N-word, we're gonna blow up your house, like, and she's scared for her life just because she's fighting for something that's right. This movie, I want to say, has similarities to the Joker film by Todd Phillips. I know that's a crazy comparison, but when Joaquin Phoenix was sitting there in an interview, he said, no one thinks about the other guy. Everyone's so obsessed with themselves, they never think what it's like to be in the other guy's shoes. Well, in this situation, it's relevant to the film Just Mercy and what's going on in the world. You don't really think about other people first. I mean, there's a lot of people that do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everyone's trash. But a lot of people just don't picture what it would be like as a black person. And I think that's why so many people are still oblivious. And I hope this movie or even this review sheds some light on it. I'm not too smart with words and stuff like that. People take what I say the wrong way. But my intentions are good. There's a quote that Brie Larson said, and I'm just going to add before I say it. She is way better in this than she is in Captain Marvel or Avengers. Either way, I have to read this quote because I forget so much. Brie Larson said, I don't want my son growing up knowing that his mama stopped doing what was right because she was scared of some crazy bigot. So, it's powerful, man. You have to put your life on the line or even sacrifice it to have something to change. George Floyd died. And what the world has started to accomplish, it's a start. Statues are being removed. Certain laws are being changed in certain areas. We got a long way to go, but it's definitely changing. People who are oblivious, like today they just announced that Quaker Oats is going to be changing the Aunt Jemima brand because, let's be honest, it's insensitive as hell. The most beautiful and touching part of the film, for me at least, not even the ending, you'd think, but Jamie Foxx is helping a fellow inmate calm down because he's had PTSD, war flashbacks, stuff like that, and he's sentenced to death just like all the other guys, but he's putting his cellmate, well, other inmate, in a happy place, telling him to breathe, and you just know deep down Jamie Foxx is a good guy. He's not guilty, and he really deserves to be set free. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, but the scene with Herbert in this film, oh my God, man. The way he reacted, the way Michael B. Jordan's character reacted, Jamie Foxx, and just the rest of the prison. It was really powerful. All in all, I really like this film. I mean, I can't really find any negatives. The only thing I would have to say is, towards the beginning, they showed Jamie Foxx before he was thrown in jail, and he's got like a mustache and long bushy hair, and it just looks super fake, man. Like, I'm talking about like Party City fake. So, I mean, like, throughout the production value of this film being $25 million, you couldn't have come up with something better? Fantastic acting. Even the supporting cast was great. The real world issues that are still relevant today are very important to watch in this film. And learning about some of the real truths they tell you about as the film ends, it's just crazy to think how something can happen like that. Say, inmate be in jail for 6 years or 10 years, 15, 20 years, and actually be innocent, and he's in there just based off the color of his skin. Guys, Just Mercy is free right now, so check it out. It's 2 hours of your life for a really impactful film that's going to mean something to this world. Please don't sleep on this, because what else are you going to watch? All these other VOD movies lately have been trash. The legal drama Just Mercy gets a 9.5 out of 10.